Hey guys, this is PinkSepy with an in-depth Kensei tutorial. I'll be going over everything from the most basic things in the game to all the most advanced tech that Kensei is capable of, at least that of which is known right now. Alright, so, as with every hero, Kensei can perform heavy attacks and light attacks. His side light is relatively slow but has good range. His top light is very fast, and both his side heavy and top heavy are quite slow. Kensei's zone attack is unique in the sense that it is uninterruptible, meaning that if Kensei is hit while using it, he's not staggered and continues using the attack. Kensei has two different dashing moves, which are done by initiating a sidestep in a certain direction and pressing the light attack button. The first of these is Helm Splitter, which is a charge forward into an upwards hit. The second is Swift Strike, which is a side dash into a horizontal strike. He also has a sprinting attack done by sprinting and pressing the heavy attack button, but you won't find yourself using this very often. Kensei's last move is a wonderful tool that allows him to guard break and dash forward at the exact same time, giving him incredible guard break distance. This can be used to quickly cover a large distance and surprise your enemy, or even catch them trying to evade. One of the things that makes Kensei unique is almost all of his attacks chain up to 3 times, ending with a final move that has some sort of special effect. There are 2 of these moves, and the first and most well-known one is the overhead unblockable, which is initiated by using top heavy attack as the 3rd hit in a chain, which causes an orange glow over the Kensei sword as he performs the attack. This is of course unblockable and can only be either dodged or parried. The second move is if the 3rd hit of the chain is a side heavy. This move is uninterruptible, and it shares the same characteristic of Kensei's own attack, in that he can't be staggered out of it. Kensei will always flash white when he uses the uninterruptible side heavy, so that's a good thing to look out for if you're fighting one. These are Kensei's most powerful moves, and as said before, can only be used as the 3rd attack in a chain. But you don't only have to chain with light attacks and heavy attacks. Both guard break and throwing counts towards one part of a chain. So if you guard break and then use side heavy, for example, then your next attack will be a 3rd hit. The same goes if you guard break and then throw the opponent. Your next attack will also be the 3rd hit in the chain. A huge part of this game is knowing which attacks or options are safe to use in the neutral game and which are not. Understanding the neutral game is a whole other discussion, but for those that don't know what it refers to, it's that period of time where you and your opponent are facing each other and neither are doing anything. If you're against a capable opponent and you throw out a side heavy attack, you're probably going to get parried and punished. However, if you throw out a top light attack, which is Kensei's fastest move, then you're a lot less likely to get punished for it, and you might even hit the attack. Top light is essential for Kensei because it's his only safe attacking move to use in the neutral game. It's worth mentioning that when you feint a top heavy and immediately press top light, it's a very quick mix-up that'll keep your opponent on their toes, but we'll go more into feinting later. I feel like I should mention which attacks are unsafe to use in the neutral game, in particular on Kensei. Heavy attacks are obvious because they're slow and easily parried, and that applies to pretty much every hero. But what I will mention is Kensei's sidestep attacks. Not only are they very slow and very easy to parry, the opponent doesn't even have to parry them. Just blocking Kensei's Swift Strike and then guard breaking him will give you a guaranteed guard break, meaning Kensei is not able to counter guard break it. This makes Swift Strike one of the worst moves for Kensei, if not the worst move to use in the neutral game. Even heavy attacks are safer, because if Kensei gets parried on a heavy, you can't get a guaranteed guard break on him. It should only be used for dodging attacks and getting a punish on the opponent, and should never just be thrown out as an initiation tool. Alright, so you understand Kensei's moveset, and which moves are safe to use. Now, how do you get in as Kensei and do damage? Well, you don't. In all honesty, Kensei is best played as a reactive character because most of his damage output relies on guard breaks, and the best way to get guard breaks is parrying. I'll put a list of characters on the screen now, which you can get a guaranteed guard break on after a parry. Remember when you initiate a guard break in these situations to hold forward as you press the guard break button, otherwise it's inconsistent and sometimes it just doesn't work and you'll have a bad time. Keep in mind against opponents where you don't get the guaranteed guard break after a parry, like Nobushi for example, you can still get a top light, so make sure to get your damage where you can. Guard break is also guaranteed if you interrupt your opponent's action with the guard break, so while they're doing recovery frames or in the startup frames of some sort of move, you can get a guaranteed guard break and they won't be able to counter guard break it. This is most notably done by guard breaking someone during their sidestep or during the starting frames of their heavy attack, and sometimes even light attacks. So no matter how you got your guard break, you finally did it. Now what do you do? This is when you do a side heavy attack. This will always be the most optimal option. The side heavy will be guaranteed. It does more damage than any other guaranteed attack after a guard break. This is of course only if there isn't a wall nearby, because when there is a wall, you can throw your opponent into it, and remember, that counts as 2 moves in a chain, right? That means you can do an overhead unblockable heavy, which will be guaranteed and do a solid 45 damage. This will also work if your opponent is out of stamina, because when you throw them, they'll fall down, and you'll be able to get the guaranteed unblockable without even throwing them into a wall. I really can't stress how important getting your parry timings down on Kensei is, because if you can't parry consistently on Kensei, you'll never be successful with them. It's harsh, but it's the truth. You have to know how to parry. So, with the mix-ups, it's all about feigning. Feigning. That is what Kensei does, that's what he's known for. And honestly, it's why most people that play Kensei. It's just really fun, enjoyable. As I said before, the hard feigning the top heavy into top light is very quick, as you can see. Just don't spam it too much. It is parryable. It is counterable. Just don't get too, spammy with it. Keep in mind that you can still feint in the middle of a chain, like this, and that'll keep your opponent on their toes. They're already in a high pressure situation because they got hit once, so they're more likely to fall for something like that. I personally like doing this combo a lot. Swift strike, feint top heavy into top light. It's very quick and I've had a lot of success with it. Of course Swift strike is risky, but I like to use it to like dodge an attack and then get a little extra damage with the top light. Just hard feigning is so universal, there's so many adaptations with it that you should experiment and see what you like, see what works out for you. That's a huge part of learning the game, like, you can't learn everything from a guide, So, getting into more advanced stuff, you need to understand the difference between a hard feint and a soft feint. A hard feint is this, when you press the feint button after initiating a heavy attack. A soft feint is when you start up an attack and then you do another attack and it automatically feints into the second attack. This only works with some moves, and Kensei has it in particular on his overhead attack. As you can see there, his unblockable soft feints into the side heavy uninterruptible. And this is one of the bread and butters on Kensei. It's important. Learn it, love it. The timing isn't very strict, so you can actually delay it quite a bit. As you can see there. I like to delay it as much as I can because it throws off the opponent more often, and there's no reason not to delay it, usually. You can take it a step further though, because not only can you soft feint, but you can then hard feint the side heavy. Which, keep in mind, this uses a lot of stamina. You have to keep an eye on your stamina bar when you're doing it. But it's a next level mix-up, and I like doing it into like top light, like that. I'll mostly use this against people that blocked or parried my this the first time I did it. and then the next time I get a guard break on him, I'll like do something like this instead. And the top light after it isn't set in stone. You can do anything really. It's just something I personally like doing. It's very good though. So play around with your options. You can always guard break again, but it's a lot of stamina usage, so you have to keep an eye on that. But you can take it further, because soft feint isn't the only thing you can do out of the unblockable. You can actually sidestep slash dash, whatever you want to call it, out of the unblockable. And this is a very powerful tool because Kensei has 3 things he can do out of a dash. He can do home splitter, he can do Swiss strike, and he can do grasping pounce. I personally like using grasping pounce here because it's low risk, high reward situation. Worst thing that could happen is they like top light you out of it or something like that, like against a warden. But most of the time, if it doesn't work, they're just gonna counter guard break it and it'll reset to neutral and it'll be fine. But if it does work out, you get another guaranteed side heavy and then you can mix up again. Keep in mind that you don't have to soft feint the unblockable. You can always just hard feint it and maybe bait out a parry or see what your opponent wants to do. The options are really limitless. You just want to constantly mix up what you're doing and try to get the reads on the opponent and don't let them get the reads on you. The mental game is very important. So one thing I like doing often, this will usually be like the very first time I get a guard break against somebody, I'll do this. And that's just the dash cancel the unblockable into grasping pounce. And then I like to do another side heavy obviously, and then you can do the basic bread and butter mix up after that. And that's a lot of damage, and it tends to work against not super experienced players or maybe players that don't know how Kensei works that well. It's very good, and then I'll see how they react to that and usually base my decision on how I do my mix-up the next time based on how they reacted to that. So for example, if I noticed that they tried to parry the soft feint, then the next time I'll do it, I'll do a hard feint into top light or something like that. Like, there's so many things you can do, you just want to mix it up. But that's about it for the mix-ups. So the zone attack, it's a pretty weird move. A lot of people think it's the worst zone attack in the game. I don't know about that. It's certainly not the best, but it does have its uses, and we'll go over those now. First of all, when you use it, it does 2 hits, one behind you and one in front of you. And it also has an uninterruptible property, so if I'm hit while I'm doing it, Kensei will not be staggered, and you will keep doing the attack. You can also feint it, which will cancel the second hit, so only the hit behind you will come out. So the uses of this are, well, there's 3. Well, there's 4 of them technically. The first one, most common one, is to simply feint it and then parry, because oftentimes people will just see it and it's weird and it's very slow and they'll try to parry it, and then you can cancel it and their heavy will come out and then you can parry their heavy. Another usage that I like to use is feinting it into top light. It's just a weird mix-up. It's not the fastest mix-up in the world, but it does throw people off sometimes. So I like using it a lot. One of the other options, which I personally think is the best one, but it won't always work, is to feint it into a guard break, and that's the slow version. There's actually a way to do it faster, where if you only hit the... Oh, I messed up there. If you do the zone attack and buffer a guard break by doing guard break immediately after you feint it, and only hitting the guard break button once, you can get the fast version, which I messed up. Hold on. Like that. That's the fast version, and it's a lot quicker and just a lot better in general. You should try to always do it like that. Don't mash the guard break button when you're doing this, because I find that I get the slow version a lot more often if I mash the guard break button. Just hit it once and you'll usually get it, and yeah, it's a very good option. It's very fast. The fourth and final way to use zone attack, and probably the worst way, it pretty much never works against somebody that's decent, but you can unlock turnaround, and that way the first hit, which is always behind you, will actually hit the opponent. You can mess around with it. It's a pretty cheesy option, but sometimes it throws people off guard and it works, and it has a really wide range, so if an Orochi's like sidestep attacking you or something on reaction, you can use it and it'll hit them most of the time. But like I said, it's pretty cheesy, so don't use it too much. As with any competitive game, there's so many things that you'll find out on your own just through playing the game. That's why tutorials and guides only do so much for you. There are a lot of things that are situational or maybe matchup oriented, meaning they work specifically well against a certain character. For example, side light attacks are almost always unusable. They're just really easy to parry. But one thing about them is they have really good range and horizontal swing distance, so you can often catch people like Orochi sidestepping, or just assassins in general sidestepping. I don't know why I always say Orochi, but it has its uses. So you can just play around and figure out what works. Sometimes you can do a guard break into side heavy into another side heavy, and then maybe feint that, or there's so many options. Like, you have to play around and just develop your own uses for the tools that the character is given. Kensei has a unique mechanic on his sidestep or dash, where he will continue blocking in whatever guard he was holding before he initiated the dash. This is useful because there is a recovery time for opponents when they hit your guard, and Kensei can do several things out of a dash. So he can guard their attack, causing them to go into recovery frames and do something out of it. The most notable usage of this is doing it with grasping pounce. So you'll dash forward, block their attack, and then grasping pounce them. And this is extremely useful because the grasping pounce / guard break will be guaranteed because they are in the middle of recovery frames. You just have to be careful with this, because if they guard break you or read it, then their guard break on you will be guaranteed because you will be in the middle of a dash. This is mostly useful in my eyes against very fast attacks like a Warden's top light attack, because they're very difficult to parry and it gives you another option to get a guaranteed guard break off of them. You can't really do it off of reaction. Most of the time when I use it, I'll be guessing that the Warden is going to top light, and then I'll dash forward with guard stance and top, guard it, and then do the grasping pounce and get the guaranteed guard break. You can also do it with heavy attacks, however, it's just less useful because you might as well just parry a heavy attack. Usually they're relatively easy to parry. I call this the universal soft feint. It's an advanced tech that can be used by every hero. It's done by starting an attack and then changing your guard stance and then doing a second attack, all in one swift motion. If you do it too fast, your character will pause, then after a long delay do the second hit, and if you do it too slowly, he will throw out the first hit that you did without doing anything else. I think this tech has a lot of uses and applications. It's very similar to the indicator bug, except it's not quite as quick. It's actually kind of easy to react to, so it doesn't always work, but it is useful as a mix-up, and I think it's good to know. The input is quite difficult though, so it will take some practice in order to be able to do consistently. This is another universal tech that every hero can use, except unlike the soft feigning, I think it is disgustingly powerful. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's done by doing a guard break and then switching guards and doing an attack all in one swift motion. It's very difficult to do, but if you do it right, then the opponent will see the guard break indicator flash, and then it will cancel and you will do your attack. So if they try to counter guard break, which they almost always will, they'll just bounce off of you and then your attack will come out. I use this on Kensei with his side heavy attack, and it's extremely powerful. I can't stress how good this technique is. Don't stop after you land the side heavy, because you can keep chaining. I like to do side heavy, or I like to do the guard break cancel into side heavy, into top heavy, hard feint, into top light, just for a little extra damage, and it really throws people off. Anyways, that's all there really is to Kensei as of right now, at least that you can just learn from watching a tutorial. A lot of it is stuff that you have to pick up just from playing the game. I wanted to get this out there so that all the information was in one place. I've been seeing a lot of new Kensei players posting on Reddit asking for advice and that sort of thing, so I hope this helped. If you want to see me putting all this knowledge and information into action, you can check out my stream at twitch.tv/PinkSepy. I answer all questions that are thrown at me, so feel free to stop by if you want more information or guidance, or just to see it in action. As parting words, remember that a good Kensei will make sure his opponent has no idea what he's going to do. It's all about mix-ups and mind games, and that's something you kind of have to figure out on your own. If you constantly mix up and play the mind game right, and you use the knowledge in this video as far as technical knowledge goes, I've no doubt that you can make the character work for you. But best of luck, and see ya.